Hi there and welcome to the EWC. Today we'll be having a look at one of the most well-known and well-loved Seiko watches among all affordable collectors, the Seiko Cocktail Time. These watches boast gorgeous ice blue dials, textured in ways that you otherwise wouldn't be able to find in the affordable watch market. Many collectors believe that the most essential component of choosing a good watch is the dial. Let's put that theory to the test today by having a closer look at these Seiko Cocktail Time watches to see whether they really are ultimate value for money. Should every watch enthusiast have one of these in their collection? Let's take a look. Okay, here we are at the table. We have two different reference numbers today, the SRPB43, which is the leather strap version, and the SRPE19, the metal bracelet version. The heads of the watches are exactly the same, it's only a matter of difference in these straps. So let's start by taking the leather one out of the box. Standard Seiko box, and there it is, with the gorgeous ice blue dial. Let's get it out of the box entirely. And here we go. Now I'll get the metal bracelet version. Here it is. Just the same, just as gorgeous. There are the two watches. So we're going to have a look at some buying options as well as a little more about the Seiko Presage line inspired by cocktails, and we'll come right back and take a closer look. Fortunately, these Seiko Cocktail Time watches are quite readily available, so you shouldn't have too much trouble finding them. However, the tricky part is finding one at a good price. As you can see, we're on the Canadian Hudson's Bay website. The bracelet one is at 575 Canadian dollars, whereas the leather strap 495 Canadian dollars. These are pretty standard retail prices that you'll see at most stores. However, I do recommend waiting for a sale so that you can get the price down to the low 400s. Have a look at Amazon. You'll find many different dial options, such as this dark blue one right here for a more affordable price. There's also a brown one, a little more expensive, and of course, there's the ice blue one at 425 Canadian dollars, much more affordable than the prices we saw earlier. If you're in the US, have a look at Amazon, then take a look at the ice blue one, only 319 US dollars, which is a pretty good price, but converted to Canadian, it's pretty average. Many other options as well. The brown one, there's a green one, there's even a red one in ladies if you're interested in that one. So just do have a look all around. Make sure you find one that's a good price and the right one that you like. Here on the Seiko website, we could learn a little more about what the Seiko Presage line is all about. As you can see, we're on the page for the line inspired by a cocktail bar, where the different watches are inspired by different drinks. So here we can look at the rationale of some of the features of the Seiko Presage watches and learn a little more about their details. You can have a look at the different watches as well, inspired by different cocktails. Here are the ones we'll be looking at. The ice blue dials, the one on the left and the one on the right, are the ones we have in today for review. They're inspired by the cocktail known as the skydiving. And you can definitely see where some of that inspiration is coming from based on the colors in the picture. So have a look at this website, browse to learn a little more about the different watches they have. There are a whole bunch, and I think Seiko definitely has a whole lot of potential crafting such beautiful dials for the affordable markets. Okay, let's run through measurements now. As usual, I'll be using my digital calipers to do so. So we have a case diameter of 40 millimeters, a lug to lug of 47, and a case height of 11.5. Pretty solid dimensions. The lug width is 20 millimeters, so you'll be able to get in quite a few different strap options that are readily available. Alright, let's go through some specs. So we of course have that signature Cocktail Time dial. We have a sunburst effect on that dial, and most certainly that textured effect of lines drawn radially outward from the center. Incredibly gorgeous. We have the applied Seiko logo just under the 12 o'clock marker, Presage and Automatic printed above the 6 o'clock marker, and those markers run all the way around the 12 hours. We have minute markers and sub-minute markers printed on the dial, a framed date window, and dolphin hands with the dark blue Nido style second hand, as evidenced by that loop in the counterbalance. Looking at the case, it's all polished with a polished bezel. The crown is signed, as you can see, and it is even a unique shape as to match the elegance of the dial. Looking at the movement in the back, we have a 4R35, which is the Seiko signed equivalent of the NH35. I'll pop a professional picture up for you to see. It is 23 joules, beat rate of 21,600 beats per hour, with a 41-hour power reserve. This movement hacks and hand winds in addition to having automatic winding. It's pretty much everything you could want in an affordable mechanical movement. As for looking at that case back, it's a screw-down see-through case back which provides 50 meters of water resistance, hardlex on the back, and a boxed hardlex on the front. The bracelet is actually surprisingly good, but then again I'm comparing it to the awful Seiko 5 bracelets that I've experienced in the past. Seiko have done a decent job. We have brushing and polishing on the bracelets. We even have this butterfly deployant clasp at the back, which is a bonus addition that I wouldn't have expected from Seiko. But you could have a look at the end links. They cut corners there. It's a basic hollow end link, which is not the best. Let's try and get the camera to focus now. Yeah, that is not the best. So we can have a look at the leather strap version now. Leather strap is surprisingly glossy. It really does capture the light. It's a blue-black strap. It's supposed to be calf leather, but it honestly, from the front and from the underside, feels like plastic. I expected a lot more from Seiko, but then again, they have to cut corners somewhere if they're going to make such a great value for money head of the watch. This one, you also get a deployant clasp, although it's just a basic deployant as such, not the butterfly style. This is a nice addition though, especially with the signed buckle. Okay, here is the metal Seiko on wrist. As you can see, it doesn't look half bad on the bracelets. So I would recommend trying out this combination, seeing if you like it. If not, there are of course many other combinations you could try, because this watch has that 20mm lug width. You could try a whole bunch of things. Here is the leather strap. There it is. That looks quite nice as well. You could try a plethora of leather straps. Anything black or blue would go amazingly well and complement that dial. You could even try this on a silicone for a more sporty look during the summer. Here's a picture of me wearing these watches on a nice blue silicone strap. I quite like it. Dresses it down a bit, but it's good for everyday wear. So these pieces, they could be everyday watches, as I just mentioned. They could also be dress watches, given that elegance. However, these are 40mm in size, so they most certainly won't be your most formal, most sophisticated dress watch that you should have in your collection, although it does serve its purpose if you want to dress business formal at some point. Perhaps take it to the office, take it around to a nice dinner. it would be a great conversation piece. Alright, let's finish off with some strengths and weaknesses. Strengths, I think, are super obvious. They did a great job with that ice blue dial. Very, very nice texture, sunburst, color, all great. It's got a solid movement in it as well. You can't really complain about a 4R35 or 4R36, anything of that range. It does everything you could really want it to do at this price point. Another great solid strength is the design of the case. It's a nice circle to accentuate that dial. It's understated, nothing that is particularly fancy that draws from the dial. I like that they went all polished on this one. Brush surfaces just wouldn't work well with the elegance that is portrayed with the dial. So, critiquing the watch. There are a few obvious critiques that I could make about the bracelet. There is, of course, the hollow end links. I also noticed that the bracelet doesn't mesh perfectly with the lugs of the watch. You can see a little bit of movement there. Same on this side. You can see a gap, and so we have the bracelet moving around a bit. That's being a bit picky though. Being picky again, you'll notice that the crown doesn't go perfectly into the case. There's a slight gap there. I don't know if that's by design for easy pull-outs and push in, but I would have preferred they fill that in and perhaps leave a little bit of gap on the underside, because at the end of the day, that is where most people would pull the crown out. So last, critiquing the dial, and I know it's very difficult to critique this dial, but something that has always bothered me with these Seiko Cocktail Times is the sub-minute track. I feel that that amount of black printing all around the dial really sullies that otherwise gorgeous look. It distracts the eye from the center where it should be to that darkness that goes around the dial. I would have preferred it without it. It's a dressy everyday watch. It most certainly doesn't need a sub-minute track. It doesn't even need the minute track. So I would love to see this watch without that extra component. I know a lot of the newer Cocktail Times don't feature the sub-minute track, which is excellent, and I would prefer, personally speaking, to look at those. But, well, those are all the weaknesses that I have. Let's take it back. So there you have it, the Seiko Cocktail Time. What do I think of this watch overall? It's got an amazing dial, that is indisputable. Gorgeous color, texture, and finish. But I personally think there are some imperfections regarding that sub-minute track. Regarding the watch as a whole, solidly built with a good movement and a good case finish. But again, some imperfections if you get the one with the bracelet. So this watch offers great value at the affordable end of the market and represents what Seiko is striving to perfect with their Presage line of dressy everyday watches. It is a great option if you like that particular design, but watch out for Seiko in the coming years because they're coming out with a whole bunch of other inspiring designs with those dials. Look at the Sharp Edge series, the watch that I reviewed on the channel a few weeks ago. So have a look at that review if you haven't already. And watch out for what Seiko is going to do in the future. I'm sure they have great potential with their design capabilities. So, until next time, cheers. Thank you very much for watching the Everyday Watch Collector. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel to help others find our videos as well. It really means a lot to me personally and goes a long way to helping the channel grow. Cheers.